Hello and happy Thursday to everyone. I am Lucy Lutterhandler, the curator of the Art Gallery of Southwestern Manitoba, which is the current home to a Prairie Vernacular, an exhibition that's organized by the Moose Jaw Museum and Art Gallery in Saskatchewan and the Esplanade Arts and Heritage Center in Alberta. Tonight, I am happy to be introducing one of the AGSM's Vernacular Spotlight videos, where we share the work and stories of artists from right here who are working in their own special vernacular. If you haven't already seen our features on Jerry Oliver and Chris Reed, you can search for those on the AGSM's new YouTube channel. But for tonight, I am happy to introduce Duane Claridge. Duane spent his early childhood living in a train station in Newdale, Manitoba, where his father was a station manager. No doubt that playground, plus all the equipment on his grandfather's farm, had a lot of influence on his artistic style today. Duane has been creating in one form or another for his entire life, whether in watercolor, photography, wood carving, or furniture making. And then, about a decade ago, he took his first course in clay and he never looked back. You'll see in the video how he pushes the limits of traditional ceramic work to imbue it with his unique steampunk aesthetic. When Duane is not making art, he is bringing other people's art to life as the co-owner of Lasting Images, a framing business here in Brandon. He has also worked at the AGSM as a preparator and a ceramics instructor. So, with that, I'll leave it now for Duane to tell you more about himself. Please enjoy this Vernacular Spotlight video.
Hi, I'm an artisan from Brandon, Manitoba. Born and raised, I've lived here all my life. I've always been a little bit creative. I've always liked making things out of anything from wood to mud. I've taken an interest in playing with clay lately, so today I'm gonna attempt to make a steampunk vessel for you. Steampunk, if you don't know what steampunk comes from the science fiction design inspired by 19th century steam operated machinery. So when I make a steampunk vessel, I'm going to be doing some hand building, some throwing on the wheel, and I'm going to be using some press molds. So the reason I like to use press molds is what I do. This is a mold of a basketball. The reason I like to use them is because I couldn't possibly make something that looked like a basketball unless I had about 10 years to do it. So this is a lot quicker. And when you use a press mold, it speeds things up a little bit, I guess, is what I was trying to say there. So like I said, you make a press mold. What I do is I get an object that I like, I create a mold casing for it, I guess, or a dam or whatever. Then I pour plaster into this mold until it hardens. And then when you're done, you have the absolute perfect mirror image of what you just made. I like to make a lot of parts too, so if I have something in mind, I always start with a little doodle or something. Make a whole lot of parts. That way, all your parts get to a point where they're all workable, called leather hard. Leather hard is when you take your clay, like right now, if I was to make pieces and start putting these together, they're real floppy and they don't do anything. So you get it to a point where there's enough moisture out of the clay that's leather hard, and it's literally as hard as like a belt. So it feels like a leather belt. So there's enough moisture out of it that you can work on it without it cracking, add things to it without it not sticking, and it's gonna stay in the form you put it in. Again, I like to make a whole lot of different parts. Big collection of parts, bases, necks, little pipes to go on the side. Okay, so this is one of my pieces that I had a mold of. It's a bigger basketball, but it's the same as the little one that I'll be using later too. So it's a mold of a basketball. It's leather hard. I can pick it up, but it's leather hard. It's not gonna lose its form if I pick it up and move it around. Even the little dimples on the basketball aren't getting pushed in with my fingers because it's hard enough to work with. When I like to put things together too, like I like to, this was all thrown on the wheel, then it was tooled to the shape of an old pipe. It has the threading in it that gives the illusion of an old threaded pipe. The basketball, it's going to be in two pieces obviously. So before I start these things, I know there's no drawing here, but I drew about 10 little ideas sitting around work just doodling. So I know that I want pipes, and I get my inspiration from the pipes from everywhere. I could be walking down the street and see a plumbing truck and there'd be a cool logo on the side and he'll have a neat little pipe, and I think, I'm gonna make that. Okay, I could put this ball together like this, so that ring is in the center, but I like to offset them. They look a lot neater when you offset. Okay. That way you can still read things, like you can read the Spalding or some of the imprint that's on the mold. So the clays I like to use, I'll use any clay, but this clay is a really nice clay. It's dark brown for one. Looks like a basketball. It has grog in it. What grog is? It's basically pulverized bisqueware. It's mixed into the clay, and it creates aeration in the clay so things dry a lot more evenly. You don't want, it creates it, or stops it from cracking a lot easier too. So everything dries evenly. If you have clay that doesn't have grog in it, it tends to dry differently in different areas, and it tends to want to split. Makes it a lot stronger. I'm eventually going to score this and stick them together. Scoring is scuffing up the surface. Slip is literally this clay dried out, ground up, put into water, and it makes a glue. It's like when you tile a floor, you have a dry piece and a dry piece. You put the mud on, you score it with the trowel, and when you push it down onto the floor, it sucks it down and it adheres to each other. And these little score marks allow the moistures in the slip to absorb into each other, and it basically, it's a glue. So what I'm doing again is I've scored and slipped. Now I'm squeezing these two pieces together to ooze all that stuff out, so I know that this piece and this piece are adhering together properly. Because if I just stick them on and walk away, I guarantee this thing will be on the floor. This was out of the mold too. Again, it's that little basketball. And then I've added to it another band of clay with some bolts. Gives the illusion that it's all bolted together. So I could have made this thing just to be a sculpture that looks good sitting on your shelf. But I like the things that are more functional. You know, you can put a flower in it or something, make it into a vase. These kind of things kind of remind me of a fantasy world. I've always wanted to do a kid's book about some little foreign people that landed on Earth and they didn't have anywhere to live, and they found an old basketball. And they built a big city out of basketballs, and they live in them, and they work in them. That's just kind of a mind game I play every time I make them. It'd be cool to have these in real life size that are huge, that, you know, instead of building an ugly factory with a big stack, why not build something like that people could actually enjoy looking at. So like here in Brandon, we have a steam plant that has 1 or 2 big stacks coming out of it to heat the city. Wouldn't it be cool to drive down the highway and see that sucker spewing steam instead of a big ugly stick in the sky? Gotta wonder what that would cost. Steampunk is kind of a fun little art form, I guess. I'm not part of the steampunk movement or anything. I just like the look of pipes, and when you get into any kind of art, I guess it's kind of hard to find your own little thing without copying somebody, right? I like working with clay because you can make anything out of it. You can manipulate it any way you want. You can make something look like anything you want. It's a cheap way or an inexpensive way to make something that looks like something that would cost $1 million. So I think that's probably about as much as I'm going to put on this one, other than about another couple hours of just fine-tuning little things, getting rid of little burrs. And after that, it's going to sit in a nice, safe place for about 3 or 4 weeks and dry really, really slowly. Because if I dry it too fast, all these parts I put on are going to start cracking off, falling off. So the slower I dry it, the slower the clay can dry evenly. And then after we're done that, it'll get fired, glazed, and sold for $1 million. All right, I'm out of here.
Welcome back. Isn't it wonderful how he just bounces back and forth between imagination and then function and then really practical future hoping? I'm sure for many of us here in Brandon that those steam stacks that he mentioned are really part of our everyday landscape. For me, at my residence, they're right in front of the sunrise. And yeah, wouldn't it be lovely if these whimsical buildings were part of that landscape instead of just pure towers? I'm really into this reimagining architecture. At the level of thinking, what is architecture for anyway? I think that's a really big part of being an artist, is no matter what medium you're working in, you have to believe that making the world more beautiful is never a waste of time. So I really appreciate this future dreaming. Duane, if you're watching right now, maybe you can let us know in comments to see, so people can know how to keep up with you, to see what you're up to, and maybe that millionaire that you're waiting for is watching as well, and they will want to know how to follow your work. I will end here. Thank you very much for joining us. Please check out our YouTube for this and other videos that the AGSM has put out for this exhibition. We are back open at a reduced capacity. You can call 204-727-1036 to make an appointment, or you can email info@agsm.ca. Next week, I will be back here on Tuesday to introduce a video tour of the religion and politics themed works. And then I am so excited to speak with the incredible artist, Adrienne Stimson, next Thursday, February 25th at 2 p.m. Central. Both of these events will be right here, wherever it is that you're tuning in from right now. Have a wonderful Friday, have a great weekend, and I hope to see you in the gallery very soon. Goodbye for now.